Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Audrey's Retailer Spotlight Q&A session. My name is Don Barton, Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Audrey's, and today we have the privilege of having Beth Lewis as a special guest. She is a very successful retailer and influencer in the gift and home industry with over 30 years of experience. Beth graduated from high school and started her own store at the age of 19 and has not looked back and is successful ever since. Beth has quite a social media following as well, and with approximately 160,000 followers on Instagram. Beth currently owns Old Time Marketplace in the small community of Madison, Indiana. So Beth, why don't we start there? If you could tell the listeners a little bit about your community.
Sure. Okay, so my local community is all about small town. We live in a small town, and I have always gravitated toward putting my business in a small town. This is the third small town that I have had a business. And being in a smaller community definitely brings a lot of benefits to a small business because you can cater to your locals in a more personalized manner. And if you live in a community that is a small town but a tourist attraction like I have, it makes it even more necessary to cater to your local community, just to know that they are set apart and is equally important as a foundation for your business as the tourists that come in and out on a daily basis.
Right. No, I totally understand that. And a lot of times that may be even more pressure on you where a tourist comes in and, oh, this is all great and new, and they come in and they're gone, and you got to, refresh and everything so that
Yeah.
everyday customer comes back and is really impressed.
Exactly. It's important to remember that, if you're in a tourist area, you've got, your tourism office, you have all those people who are working very hard to get people into your community every day. And your local people are already there every day. So it's really important to remember the community that is already in place for you.
Exactly. Very good. Okay, what would you best describe? How would you best describe your average customer?
I think that my average customer is someone who appreciates coming into a store that offers a very carefully curated collection of goods. They are the customer who wants to be able to come in. If they already have an eye for design, then they can see your goods displayed in a nice manner that gives them inspiration to utilize these items at home. And then it's also the customer who may not have that design eye, but can come in and see how these items all play together, and who are instantly inspired and feel that they can tackle this type of decor at home. And they're also the person who appreciates supporting a small business and all of the things that they have to offer, like one-on-one customer service and things like that, where that you can take the time to get to know them and know their design aesthetic and what they're trying to do and how their way of life is. So I think that describes my customer to a T, because we get a lot of people that enjoy coming in who always tell us that it looks so pretty in here, and they feel as though everything is approachable, and that makes us feel good.
Beth, what would you say is the demographic of any customer that might come into Old Time Marketplace?
It's interesting because I would say that our average customer range really is very broad. It goes from your mid-20 somethings and up. And the other interesting thing that we have learned is that this isn't also just women. We have a lot of men that come in our store, and while we don't cater toward the male demographic, we do offer things like our private label pantry foods and chocolates and things like that. And one of the greatest compliments I think we get is when a man will come up and say, "This store is great. I always feel comfortable coming in here. My wife loves coming in here. I enjoy coming in instead of sitting in the car," which we see a lot of too. But it's so nice when you hear that from a male perspective, and they love getting back in there and fill a bag of chocolates and look around at all the jams and relishes and things like that. And so it's interesting to, that has been an interesting thing for us to see as well.
Well, that is a very good compliment that you receive.
It is.
Getting that, you can't get a better compliment than that.
I don't think so either.
What would you consider your main categories, whether you want to talk about top revenue producing categories or just top price point range? Anything you wanted to mention there?
I would say right off the top, our main categories, of course, are home decor and our clothing. And we see those up in the top. And then gift comes in. Gift comes in right after that. And when I say gift, I'm talking about things like, candles and things that may also be a crossover into your home decor. But so when you're looking at the top revenue bringers, that definitely those are the top three. And of course, then those fluctuate seasonally as well. But, when you're looking at your average point of sale, and you can see how that kind of changes, those top three categories always seem to be quite consistent for us on a daily basis, actually. So it's interesting. We'll see. One is this day, the other is the next day, but they're always in the top three.
Got it. Understand that's your bread and butter.
Yep.
The retail landscape in the gift and home industry, it's definitely been a challenge over the past 2 years with inflation, overstocked inventory, definitely a challenge from what we hear with lack of help. How have you been able to navigate through these challenges?
Oh my gosh, that is probably the most accurate statement I have heard. It's definitely been a challenge in all those areas. After going through the pandemic, one of the things that I did during that time, which was a gamble, and I'm not a gambler, but I never canceled any of my orders through the pandemic. Even though we had to be closed, I couldn't totally see the future, but I kind of felt that that was not the thing to do based on what was, things being shut down. And you realize that you're just part of this pipeline where there's so many things before you, manufacturing and then shipping and things like that. And I kind of had a foresight into, well, if I have to be closed, all these other places are going to have to be closed too. And this is going to turn into a problem later on. And that was just like my business head, talking. So I never canceled any of my orders. So I wasn't panic buying afterward. What I did see happen is it was difficult to get some things, obviously, afterwards, but I was in a good shape because I hadn't canceled anything. What was happening, though, is if you had outstanding orders with some companies, I was definitely getting duplications, and that turned into an issue where all of a sudden I'm getting duplicate big orders, duplicates. And so that just turned into an issue and things got taken care of there. But as you were dealing with, trying to obtain new inventory, and then you were also now dealing with surcharges on the shipping, which were astronomical. And so one of the things that I was trying to do was going to pick up product. Now I'm crisscrossing America trying to go pick up product to save on these astronomical surcharges, and that did help. And it was just one of those things where trying to be thrifty in my business had to transcend into how to deal with all of these extra charges and things that were adding up, not to mention the increase in the price of the product. So I was learning how to balance, how to place orders for certain things that were always a good seller, that were perhaps the price was a little bit raised, and trying to offset that by buying a product where I would be able to perhaps increase the revenue a little bit more, increase that price tag a little bit more to help pay for this other item. Is definitely a balancing act that took a lot of brain power to pull through this. And I'm glad that we're kind of on the downside slope of that now, because the surcharges have gone away, which is great. But I can also see where they've gone away, but they've just leveled out. There's definitely been an increase across the board on all those things. And it's come down to just having to put that thrifty mindset into your daily business, and being careful about looking at price points more than ever before. Price points are key. So it's definitely been a challenge also with the lack of help. Never seen anything like that before. And, we've had our share of, I've got a good core team. We've also seen our share of people come in and out, and it makes it difficult, because that in itself it's a waste of time, not only for myself, going through the training process with an employee, but I think that if you look at it, you'd rather take that time and just focus directly on the business if that employee wasn't going to work out. So that has definitely been a challenge. So when we go to looking for help, one of our key questions is we ask them what their expectations are of the job. And that has been a key question that we ask them to get an idea of what they are thinking or looking forward to in working with you. And so all of those things that you mentioned have definitely been a significant challenge.
Well, there's no doubt we have heard that from a number of retailers, and for you to actually go out during that period of time and I'm assuming you were in the truck trying to go out and grab merchandise where you could, just to save. And that's really just a tremendous effort there. So no, you've come out of that, seems like extremely, extremely well. Are you having to compete with the big box stores in your area? I mean, if you do have any, how do you keep your customers loyal to Old Time Marketplace?
We definitely have experienced that. Just in this last quarter of the year, we had 4 big box stores open in a new strip mall in our town. One, we had Hobby Lobby, Kohl's, Five Below, and TJ Maxx. And these stores are all within 5 minutes of our shop. And so, what we had to take a look at was you always have to look back, and you have to ask yourself, what can you offer that these stores cannot offer? And it basically comes down to a couple things. Your customer service, your personalized customer service, and you have a curated look. You are not a big box store, you're a small business. And so, I asked myself this question: if those stores would have already been there before I decided to open my store, would that have affected my decision? And the honest answer is no. I would not have let those stores stop me from opening a shop. So I had to apply that to how I would feel already being an existing business as they open up. And so it's just a common sense statement, is that most of these people that shop the store have these big box stores within minutes from wherever they live. And what they want when they come in to your small business is they want that intimate atmosphere. They want to have that personalized service. They want to feel comfortable and acknowledged. And all those things are definite attributes that we make sure are part of our daily mantra with customers. And so competing with big box stores is never easy, but I kind of like to flip the switch and think that they need to look out for us, because small business makes a big impact in a community.
And I'm sure a lot of your customers realize that, and they do really want to support the local businesses there. It's only best for their interest as well as yours. And that actually goes without saying that price isn't everything. Because I know at times it can be a challenge competing with the big box stores and
Yeah.
pricing, but it seems that what you have done over the years is you really have a loyal customer base, which is fantastic.
It's definitely been, it's also something that kind of makes you think outside the box too. It's like, what else can we do? What would be fun? What is something that could also help my business at the same time that customers would enjoy? And one of the things that we started was a daily doorbuster in the shop. And we have a specific area where people can make a beeline to check out what our daily doorbuster is, which is turned into, it started off just being, we did it one weekend, and then we decided to do it a following weekend. And it's funny how it kind of took off, and it was a great outlet for us to move some products that we would want to kind of liquidate. And it was a great way for us to take a look at, in our storage room or our warehouse and go, this would make a great doorbuster. Let's get it out there. And I've even found myself specifically purchasing products now to utilize as a doorbuster because it's been such a hit. And this was really a great way to liquidate product in a more quick and efficient way other than saving it for a sale. Our store doesn't do a lot of sales, and one of the things that I don't have in my store is like a sale section. I don't want a cluttered up section of miscellaneous goods in a sales section. That's one of the things that I have never wanted to do in my shop, but having this doorbuster cart keeps it streamlined, keeps it all together in one place, and is very visible when people come in the door, and has definitely helped us in so many ways. It's a positive. You take the negative of having maybe product that has lingered and you want to get it out of there, move on, get something else. So it's taken that negative, turn it into a positive for your customer and yourself, because now it's gone. Your customer's thrilled. They got a deal, and now they're already looking forward to the next thing. Once that basket gets empty, we even had people say, oh, there's only one more. That means another thing's coming. So that has been a fun and exciting new little feature that we've added to the shop, and that has helped us tremendously.
That's great. I'm sure that keeps people coming back in almost every day, if not every other day, to see the doorbuster.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's funny because you'll have people that'll message you, or they'll message us, is there a new doorbuster today? And so it's working when you can, when they're excited about it.
That's fantastic. So Beth, how do you source your products and making your purchases? Are you doing that mostly through markets? Is it online, in-store, rep, all of the above? How do you do that?
Yeah, I really like the markets a lot. I like to be able to see it, and I like to be able to touch it, see the quality, see the weight, see the color. The color is always really important. I really appreciate you taking the time. I've gone to markets now for over 25 years, and I really feel like that's the way to go for me, because I am I'm buying from different companies, and so I'm curating what my store is going to look like. So things need to flow and go together. I also like to source locally. I love local handmade goods. And that's always a wonderful way to, incorporate yourself into the community. And I do some online, and I also I do work with reps, but I only work with the reps after I've seen the product in person. I don't really just do like cold ordering right from a catalog. So I usually do only use my reps, which I highly recommend using a rep. They're a great source of assistance for you in all different kinds of ways, from initial ordering to reorders to questions about your order and shipping and things like that. And so I do appreciate working with my reps, even when I'm at the showroom. So they just get to know you and they get to give you a more personalized experience. And that is definite value in itself. So I've utilized all those things, and they all serve a very distinct purpose.
I understand. Oh, you've done a great job. And I know you really do like to look at the items, handpick them, and you know what your customers will buy, but it's important to come to market. I think it'd be great if everyone could possibly come to market and be able to do the same thing.
Absolutely. It's always well worth the time and the money. And it's one of the things that will help elevate your business once you decide to do it.
How often, Beth, are you holding events in your store, such as an open house, anything to sort of gain exposure or bring people in?
We have so many events. One of that I have to thank for the town that I live in holds a lot of different things. And what we are very fortunate to do is we embrace most all of the events that are in our town. We try to embrace them in different ways. We do have a Christmas open house every year. That is an entire downtown event. They have it for one night. We go ahead and we continue ours all weekend. We have other events in town like a regatta, and that is a big boat race along the river. So what we do for that is nothing big, but we have a regatta candle that we release every summer. So that's something that people can look forward to come in. And so that's a small way to participate in a very big event that is not directly located right on Main Street, but within town. So we always try to take a look at what events are happening. We've got a lot of music events in town. And so we just try to take a look at things, too, that pop up. Recently, we had this past Saturday, we had like a Whoville event where Madison turned into Whoville for a day. And so stores could participate by doing something as maybe a sale, or if you wanted to offer a discount or just have a special product for sale available that day. And so those are little pop-up things that maybe aren't on the calendar every year, but they get put out by maybe a store has an idea and wants to include everybody. And so we have a lot of things that happen, and it's very important to stay on top of the local organizations that you may have in town, like your Chamber of Commerce or your tourism office or things like that, where they're the ones that maybe sponsor or put on these events. That would give you a leg up and be able to kind of make you aware of what's happening. And it can kind of give you, get you thinking about how you would want to participate in all of these things. And you may want to order special products for that, or you may want to order something special to wear for that event. And so it's important to pay attention to all the events that go on in your town, not to mention ones that you may just plan yourself, like you mentioned, as an open house or things like that. I think seasonal open houses are always a big hit, so they're always fun.
So Beth, in promoting these or just general promotion to your customers and putting the word out about Old Time Marketplace, what type of media vehicles are you using? Whether it's Facebook, email, newspaper ad?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about
I would
that.
have to say, yeah, social media definitely. Instagram and Facebook are key, and building your email list is absolutely essential. So those tools are so significant. When I look at being a small business that started back in '88, when I look at all these different ways, platforms that have developed to be able to assist a small business, it's advertising like this is nothing like it's ever been before, and it's constantly changing. But these social outlets and building your email list are ways that you can get the word out about your business for not a lot of money. And it's absolutely amazing to me how those outlets have helped my business grow. It's been key, essential, and just one of the most powerful things I've ever seen in my business.
And Beth, why don't you tell us just a little bit, how has technology, because this sort of plays hand in hand in that, how has technology changed your
Sure.
business?
It's so interesting when you take a look back when, you know, before social media was even around. It's interesting, you know, email was beginning, and I can go back as far as just anything that I did, I was sending out through snail mail. And when I started to see the value of um, when Facebook came about, I didn't understand it at first. I didn't embrace it right away because I didn't understand why people would be interested in where I went to eat supper or anything. But it's the human dynamic. That's how we're built. That's how we're made. And it wasn't until I was doing a show that I was sitting at a show and I was next to a vendor that sold cowboy boots. And so for 5 days at this show, I had this pair of cowboy boots that was like literally like maybe 2 feet away from my checkout area. And, you know, I was sitting there and I took a picture of those cowboy boots and I put it on Facebook with the question that said, should I? Question mark. And the amount of response that I received from this question was phenomenal to me. It's like 107 people commented on these cowboy boots, and I'm like, I don't even know these people. Like, who is that? And how did they know that I posted this photo? And it was interesting because comments were coming in like, girl, you work hard, you need to buy those boots. And then I had other comments coming in that said you should take the money that you would spend on those boots and donate it to UNICEF or a local charity. And it was interesting to me because none of those people I knew. And then all of a sudden that light bulb went off and I thought, what if I would have taken a picture of my own product? And then I got it. From that point on, I realized that everyone has an opinion. And it was so interesting to me to finally understand and grasp the reach, the concept, the absolute. It was overwhelming to me to finally understand the possibilities of what this was. And so from that point on, I had embraced it. And so, not being a technological person, it took me a little while to understand. And then when Instagram came about, where it was mostly just photos, I loved that because I didn't have to say so much. And from that point on, it was just full speed ahead. And then learning in all of this, the value of obtaining and building your specialized email list is crucial because you need to remember that, you know, any of these social platforms could go away. It's always important to remember that. And there'll be glitches and there'll be things like that that you have to deal with. And your email list or your website is your piece of property to decide what to do with. And so it's important to build that and to hold on to that as well.
All good points. Now, Beth, you've obviously built just a tremendous following on social media. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have over, is it 160,000 followers on Instagram?
Yes, on Instagram, yes. And we have over 60,000 on Facebook. And it's important to remember, too, since we're talking about the following, it's important to remember that the numbers are really not what you are after. What you're really after is a following that will, communicate with you and engage with you. And it's important to realize that, Facebook is generally, you're going to get a lot of local interaction on Facebook. And so, it's very important to remember that the numbers are not everything. If you've got a very engaged following and you connect with them, that right there is the most important thing. And it can be very intimidating to start or to even think that, I can't do that. Oh my gosh, you really can't afford not to do it. And if you just remember that the numbers aren't the goal, it's engagement that is the goal in creating and in doing your social media, and consistency is absolutely key. You may think nobody's watching, but you would be surprised to find out those that do. And so those are important keys to remember when embracing, technology and social media for your business.
Well, it makes sense, Beth. I know you have given a number of at conferences, just giving a number of presentations to hundreds, maybe even thousands of people about how to build your social media. And these are all business leaders. So if you had to give a few tips for someone that either wants to increase their presence, someone that wants to start social media and promoting social media, or even just something as simple as what would make a good post, can you give us a few tips on that?
Absolutely. Your first post should be an introduction, and people want to see the person behind the photos that are forthcoming. So you want to put an introduction out there. Let them know who you are and what you offer and what you are going to be presenting to them. And from that point on, you'd want to be consistent. It's just like if you were to open a store and you put your business hours on the door, you have to be there. And so social media is like a business in that regard. So you have to be consistent and put something out there on a daily basis. And you can plan ahead. The thing that tends to bog people down or to feel the pressure of it is, oh my gosh, what am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do the next day? What? Don't think so far ahead. It's nice to think ahead, and you'll get there because all of a sudden all these ideas are going to start to just, grow. But take it one day at a time, as long as you're consistent. And if you can kind of teach yourself the value of posting at the same time every day, next thing you know, it will become a habit. Give yourself like 5 days in a row. And it's important to within those 5 days include a weekend, because there's a lot of people who are not working on the weekend who have time to view social media. So you don't want to just do Monday through Friday. You need to make sure that whatever you're doing is consistent. Some days you might have more to say than other days. Some days it might just be a new product alert or new product feature, and indicate the size and the price of the item. And that's all that is. It's something. It's a presence. Your presence is shown and known on social media for that day. And what's interesting is you'll be surprised at the people that may share that product and may even call with a question about the item. Try to think in advance of what people may want to know to give them a more educated idea if it's something that they may want to purchase. And it's just so important to just be consistent and have your presence showing every day on social media. And once you get into the habit of it, you'll start to see the value. You'll see it may take some time before you hear somebody say, I saw this on Instagram or I saw this on Facebook. And you may think nobody is watching, but you have to know that they are. So just be patient, be consistent. That first post needs to be an introduction. Remember that they want to see the person behind the business. That is crucial. And those few tips should get you going and running up on social media in no time.
Great tips. So the next few questions are really important and critical questions because it can make and break a business. And you are so good at what you do. And I just a couple questions on how you do this, but it has to do with merchandising. How do you go about merchandising your store? Do you have designers come in? Is it all done by you? I know you have a great staff there, but how do you handle all of your merchandising and maybe going from season to season?
One of the things we do it all in-house in stores. I usually start with like an inspiration, whether it's a piece of furniture or it may be a new collection of merchandise coming in. Usually that is the launching pad for how we decide to do displays. And I'll give you a good example. We had an area of our store that had soaps. And, you've got to keep an eye and you have to pay attention to the traffic in your shop. You've got to kind of just be present and pay attention to how people are shopping your store. And this particular area of our store, I noticed that the soap was selling. We also had soap in another area of the shop. And I noticed where this was, it was not selling as fast. And the way we had it merchandised, I think people were reluctant to get back into the display. And so that I made a mental note of that. And I didn't change it right away because I had to work through it. I had to kind of think, what do we need to do over there? And finally, the idea occurred to me that we definitely needed more space to add home decor, specifically items related to kitchen, like mugs and platters and things like that. So it was an easy fix to open up this space, take this soap that we had, combine it with our other soap line, and open up this space for the home decor. And it totally transformed the look of that specific area. And it definitely was the right thing to do. People get back in there. They shop now. All the soaps in one area. They can easily find what they're looking for. That particular line of soap, the sales have increased tremendously. And so it's things like that kind of help us to decide too how to display and how to work through the flow of the shop.
And as far as a tip for retailers to avoid the biggest mistake or any mistake in merchandising their store, what would you say that would be?
Do not put things on the floor. That right there is probably the biggest tip that I can give anybody is when you're putting merchandise directly on the floor, it's totally out of their sight line. And not only that, but the product gets dirty. It gets worn. It gets forgotten. So directly putting product on the floor has always been a no-no for me. This is through experience. So I'm not saying that product can't be low, but it needs to be incorporated into part of the whole display. So if you can avoid setting it directly on the floor, even by elevating it with a crate or a stool or something that makes it so it's not sitting directly on the floor, you're going to see an increase in sales with that particular item. And that to me is probably the number one biggest mistake that people make in merchandising.
No, totally understand. And in regards to in-store promotions, I know you had mentioned about the promo for each day. Are there any other type of in-store promotions that you run throughout the year?
Yeah, sometimes we do our promotions that we incorporate into an event. We will do, like one of our promos, we do a Pick a Posy discount that we incorporate with Girls Weekend. we also incorporate that like into maybe Mother's Day, where you can come in and you can pick a flower and there's a color tip on the end of the stem, and whatever color that is incorporates the specific discount. That's an easy one to do. It's fun. We will also run like our clothing clearance rack. And this year we did a promotion that was fill a bag for $50, and that helped to wipe out our clothing rack, our biggest rack. It wiped it out in 2 hours, and we were able to then fill it with new product that was waiting in the wings. And, it's important to remember, when you're doing a promotion, that the promotion is meant to be a positive thing. And you don't want to do this where you wind up in negative revenue or anything like that. It's got to be a positive experience when you're doing a promo. And so that's one of the things you always want to keep in mind, that a promotion needs to be positive. Those two P words help work hand in hand, so you're making the right decision when you are trying to decide on what to promote.
Understand. Any type of design trends that you're seeing that we should, or retailers should, pay attention to in the near future?
I always look toward clothing as to help me with design trends for home decor. Clothing, the colors come from clothing first. And you have to remember, I've always felt one of my philosophies is people are willing to wear a specific color on their body, and it's become a very trending color. That is going to translate into home decor. They will definitely be wanting to see that into their home decor as well. So I always look toward clothing, not just for color, but also for textures. And both of those things you see prevalent in home decor as well.
That's a great tip. I never thought about it that way. Well, Beth, we're coming down to the last few questions. You've been so successful over the years in the way you've built your business, if you had to pick 3 things that have made you successful over the years, what would that be?
Number one, I would have to say being thrifty, trying to make something out of nothing. That's definitely number one, because I started off with nothing. And so trying to still incorporate thrifty ideas into my store so many years later, I think that is a great foundation to never veer from. Number 2, I think, is to go with your gut. This type of business is there's a lot of options. There's so many things to see, to be able to purchase. And, there's just so many options out there that it can get overwhelming. And so if you listen to your gut and stay true to your design that you have in your head for your business and the products that you are carrying, if you stay true to yourself and always listen to your gut, you are going to maintain the integrity of your business, and you are going to maintain the individuality of your business. Not trying to be someone else. Stay true to yourself and your own design. And I think number 3 is embracing the new. And by that I mean things like social media, new employees. Be willing to always learn and go forward and experiencing these new opportunities that are out there for a small business. You can never stop learning. And so by being open to those things, I think those are the top 3 things that have helped me to build my business over the years.
And good points about using your gut. And just let me ask, over the last many years or the history of your business, was there ever a point where you were just really struggling with a decision to make and you did use your gut and it paid off? Because I'm sure there's a lot of retailers out there, whether they are considering expanding or opening another location or really taking a big step, just is there any specific instance in your history where basically felt that type of pressure?
Absolutely. When we had our business in North Carolina for 10 years, and we were presented with an opportunity to move our business to Madison, Indiana. And I had been asked to relocate my business before, and when this opportunity came, I told them no, I was not interested in relocating. The amount of work was going to be tremendous, and I had to really hone in, and so I had to be very honest with myself in the fact that the 10 years that I was in my small little town in North Carolina, that I had definitely reached a point of discontent where I couldn't expand the business. The building wasn't big enough. I couldn't get past, I grew out of that. I grew out of that building and I grew out of the town. And I knew that there was discontent in my heart. I could feel it. I didn't know exactly where it was coming from. And so when we were presented with this particular opportunity, my husband had suggested that we should come and visit and just see what I was saying no to. And so that was a good example of being open to something new. And so we did come, and we were very impressed at the onset. And once we decided to make the move here, and I was presented with the building where our store currently is, I was extremely overwhelmed walking into this space. And so immediately I was like, no, this is way too big. I definitely no. And, my husband made a comment to me, and he said, you just have to ask yourself how you'd feel if you didn't have it. And so I thought about that, and I realized that my gut is telling me, go, 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 do it, because I had spent the last few years knowing how that felt and listening to these signs and being guided. And I realized that he was so correct and that I needed to go with my gut, and I needed to listen to my own advice about embracing new opportunities. And so that is how I've been able to grow and expand my business to where it is now, by taking that chance, listening to my gut, and being able to incorporate all these ideas that have been inside my head all these years and seeing it come to fruition.
Well, everyone has to take a risk, and it's definitely paid off for you and your husband. That is fantastic. Beth?
Taking a risk is not taking risks is not my favorite thing, and I realize that being a small business owner, you take risks all the time, and that's all I've been doing my whole career. And risk taker definitely needs to be part of the small business persona, because that you are constantly doing that almost on a daily basis in the decisions that you're making. So yeah, being a risk taker, it's not easy, but it's essential.
Yes, totally understand. It is essential, especially if you want to be successful. That's for sure. So, Beth, we're coming down to the last question. May I ask, what is the best part about being a retailer, and what is the hardest part about being a retailer?
I would say that the best part about being a retailer is the people. And the worst part can also be the people. If you're a retailer, you know that. But no, being a retailer has been it's been a very powerful occupation for me, because it lets me express my creativity and my talents, my God-given talents. It allows me to be able to express those things to the joy of others, there's nothing more gratifying than that. And I would say that the worst part of being a retailer is the stress that comes with all the decision making, and you are constantly dodging things. And I think we learned a lot about ourselves during the pandemic to see what we're made of. But that was just one part of our retail history, and it's forever changed things. But I think the hardest part of being a retailer are constantly dodging the bullets, making those decisions that you have to make. And it can be a very stressful job. But if you can kind of remember why you started your business into the first place, that is a very, very soft and secure place to land if you can always go back to your roots. And that kind of helps bring it home for you.
Excellent words of wisdom, Beth. That could not have been said any better. Well, Beth, I just wanted to thank you for being a part of this Q&A, and hopefully this can help some other retailers that are experiencing some difficult times. And there's no doubt you have found a way to buck the trend. You just have done just a tremendous job throughout your career, really. And you're so gracious with your time and willing to help retailers and willing to help other people build their social media platforms. And we just really appreciate this time once again. And thank you, Beth, for being a part of this.
I absolutely am so gracious and so thankful and grateful for you asking me to do this. Anything that I have learned or anything that I can do to just help and inspire and encourage other small business owners out there, I am so happy to be able to do that, because we are all in this together. It is a community of people, and we're all in the same boat. And so we need to constantly support and encourage each other. And if I can do any part of that, then I am always so happy to be able to do so. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that.
No, well said. Well said. You're right. We're all in this together, and this is a wonderful industry to be in, for sure.
Sure is.
Well, thank you, Beth, and I appreciate the time, and hopefully we will see you soon in just a couple of weeks in Atlanta.
That sounds good, Don. I look forward to it.
All right. Thank you, Beth. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And that concludes the Audrey's Retailer Spotlight Q&A. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we will see you soon. Thank you.